Have you ever felt overwhelmed by how many tarot decks there are out there? Today, I'm going to help you narrow down what decks are best when you're a beginner tarot reader. My name is Sunny Singh, and before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I started my coaching journey in 2016, where I became a certified health and life coach. I got my mastery certificate, and right away, I started helping people in the fertility and miscarriage realm. I myself had had 4 miscarriages and 2 ectopic pregnancies, and it was really exciting for me to be able to help people with things that I had gone through. Over time, however, what I figured out is it wasn't about necessarily helping people who had had those similar experiences. For me, it was all about the personal growth, the spiritual growth, and the empowerment along the way. And so 1 year ago, I started the High Priestess Tarot School. The High Priestess Tarot School was started in order to help people learn how to read tarot fast. I myself really struggled to learn tarot. There's so many books out there, there's so many different interpretations. I wasn't exactly sure how to start, and I really struggled for a while when I started my own tarot journey. And what I found was assigning keywords to the card was the absolute best and easiest way for me to learn. And over the last year, helping others, I've recognized that it's a wonderful way for everyone to learn tarot. There are a couple of things that can help you pick out the right deck. Number one is, do you have a personal connection to it? And number two, do the images resemble the Rider-Waite deck? All tarot decks have the same 78 cards. Sometimes you'll find some differences in renaming. Some tarot decks might throw in a few extra cards within their deck, but for the most part, it's all tarot decks are going to have the same structure with the same 78 cards, and all 78 cards have the same meaning as that same card in any other tarot deck. However, the artwork on all of the decks is a little bit different. And so depending on what deck you have, you may have slightly different intuitive urges and nudges from the current artwork that you're using. Okay, so let's talk about my favorite decks for beginner tarot readers. Know that just because these are the decks that I recommend doesn't mean that these are the only decks that you can get as a beginner. And I'm going to go through some other criteria for choosing a deck outside of these three. So the first recommendation that I have is the traditional Rider-Waite tarot deck. This deck you can't go wrong with. It has the original images. Using the standard Rider-Waite tarot deck can be a really good first starter deck for a lot of people. However, you might be somebody who is like me. I had a really hard time connecting with the images. So my second recommendation is the Light Seers deck is great because it matches the images with the original Rider-Waite in a lot of areas, and it feels more modern and diverse. Another great deck that I love is the Unfolding Path Tarot. This deck is really similar to the Light Seers Tarot. It has some of the same similar imagery. It's also very colorful and bright, and it is in line with the meanings for the Rider-Waite Smith. So now that we've covered my 3 favorite decks for beginners, let's talk about if these decks don't necessarily resonate with you. What are some of the qualities to look for in a tarot deck that can help you create a study deck? Number one, you want to be able to connect with the artwork. The artwork needs to feel good, it needs to feel expansive, and it needs to feel like it's your style and your imagery. For example, my style and imagery is bright, high contrast, happy. So this is why I love the Light Seers and the Unfolding Path Tarot so much. I also love things that are diverse. And so there are a lot of diverse people within both of these decks. So thinking about what resonates with you when it comes to the artwork, maybe you are somebody who loves the darker imagery. So you would probably like a completely different deck than the ones that I've already talked about. Next, consider the theme and symbolism. Different decks have different themes. So, like I was kind of talking about the light themes or the dark themes, or I have several decks that have very niche themes, like the Forager's Daughter deck has a lot of imagery when it comes to plants and animals. It's important to find a deck that's theme feels really good for you. And then my last tip on choosing a deck is to avoid pip decks. What are pip decks? Pip decks do not have a graphical image on the minor arcana. They have 3 wands or 6 wands, but it doesn't really tell the story. Here you'll see the 3 of Wands from the Rider-Waite deck right next to my 3 of Wands from my Catamancy deck. What you'll notice is the Catamancy deck only has 3 wands on the card. So that doesn't really tell us anything about the 3 of Wands and what that means. However, on the Rider-Waite Smith card, we've got this person standing on a hill looking out over the water. There's ships on the water. They're holding on to one of the wands, and you can see that there's this pictorial image. And the 3 of Wands is considered this card of when your ships are rolling in. It's all about taking action and taking a step. A lot of versions of this card, you'll actually see the image on the card taking a step for their dreams and their goals. I personally like to watch video flip throughs before I purchase a deck, as long as there are some out there. And also just trusting your intuition, trusting that the one that feels right for you is right for you. I do have a first tarot deck or study deck checklist, and that is in the Beginner's Guide to Learning Tarot. I'm going to link that in the description above. You can look for decks at your nearest metaphysical shop. You can look for decks on Amazon. And I personally like to back new indie decks on Kickstarter. Please comment with your favorite deck on this video. In the next video for the Tarot Gateway series, I will be teaching you the fastest way to learn tarot. We're going to be talking all about keywords, how to choose your keywords, and how to assign your keywords. See you in the next one.